Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Sunday night show. We have a ton of stuff to talk about today. The amount of stuff that we had to exclude from the show was more than we have in some typical weeks. Tonight, we will focus on Northwest Missouri State and Pitt State, one of the best rivalries in Division II. Those two teams played yet another epic game in the history of those two programs. We'll also talk about some things that happened in the Gulf South. Not nearly as epic a games as there was in Maryville with Northwest and Pitt. We'll also talk about some CIAA football. Chowan and Bowie State met in what might end up being the de facto CIAA championship game. We'll also talk about the Lone Star Conference, what's going on there, and how that relates to Super Region 3, as well as a wonderful game and an important game that still has decided nothing in the Mountain East Conference. Again, everybody, thanks for joining us. Chuck's with us, Chris, Witt, Justin Palizzi. Devin is at the Chiefs game tonight, which is probably a good thing because his attention would have been divided. But tonight, let's start with Wayne State, 35, Minnesota State, 24. That is 3 upsets in a row for Wayne State. I guess if it's 3 in a row, maybe you can't call them upsets anymore. But Wayne State scored 28 straight to overcome a 24-7 deficit. And quarterback Nick Bone had 3 touchdowns. And it was the first Northern Sun home loss for Minnesota State since 2016.
Yeah, a wild game. Basically Mankato kind of got after Wayne early. They got to the quarterback, a lot of pressures, really disrupted what Wayne wanted to do offensively. Mankato was able to do enough offensively as well. So, in taking a look at it, once again, Mankato gets off to a fairly good start. Starts to show signs of maybe the Mankato of years past, where they kind of assert themselves offensively. Then kind of late in the game, we start to see some signs of, as things progress, a little bit more where the Wildcats start making some plays. Anthony Watkins ends up having a real nice day for them, ends up scoring 2 and gets loose for a few nice scores. But as you can see here, Mankato's making some plays. Their offense is starting to look a little bit more like you were expecting to see from Mankato this year. They're starting to get their feet under them a little bit. They're starting to build a lead in this contest. They get themselves up to a 24-7 number. Now you have Wayne going 4 wide here. Start of the 4th, they hit a deep one to the post. Safety loses his footing, ends up being a 70-yard score. And all of a sudden, the game kind of flipped. I really thought Wayne was kind of in trouble here. Then we have a play where they kind of bounce it on out. Watkins goes ahead and takes it again. And this game just started having a much different feel to it at this point. You're seeing Mankato having some trouble keeping good hold of the ball. They fumble once. They throw 2 picks. They botch a fumble and then a punt. And then you see right here, Nick Bone. He's a really slippery runner. Nice 20-yard zone read play. Takes it in for the score, ends up making it 35-24, and a really impressive 4th quarter for Wayne. That you just don't see people do this at Mankato. You just don't. And so it's really a feather in the cap, basically of this Wayne State program and what they've done over these last 3 weeks with wins over Duluth, Winona, and then obviously at Mankato.
Right, and now joining us is John McMenamin. He is the head coach at Wayne State, first-year head coach, and has his team off to an outstanding start this season. Thanks for joining us, John.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, I'm curious. You're a new coach establishing your culture there. What was your mindset when you guys were down 24-7? Essentially late in the game.
Oh, we just needed to put a few plays together. We knew it was really offensively where we were struggling the most. And tip of the hat to Mankato, they caused a lot of that, but it was just stringing a few plays together. And if we could get some momentum going, we thought we could string together some points. And we just didn't have a lot of continuity, throughout some of the game. So, we made a couple change-ups. When we got to the 4th quarter, it was a really windy day. And then we got the wind at our back in the 4th quarter. And our offensive coordinator, Logan Masters, had a couple plays that he designed. And one of those is at long post. We thought we could get one-on-one with their safeties and take advantage. And things just started to open up. And pretty soon you hit one play and fortunately enough for us, our kids have done it before and scored a few points in bunches, and they believed in it. And so, if you believe in it, you got a chance of it happening. And so, slowly but surely, we started scoring on offense, and then the defense, we started getting a couple stops, and momentum, like Matt said, had clearly flipped, and the confidence just kept building, and we were fortunate enough to just ride that wave a little bit.
Coach, let me ask you, with 11 minutes left, we just saw that deep post. You guys come out in 2x2, 4 wide receiver set, and all of a sudden, you guys had some trouble protecting the quarterback for a portion of that football game. You guys had a nice pocket to throw from there on that play on that post. Kind of what was your mindset coming into that? Did you guys think that was a spot that you guys could hit if you protected the quarterback a little bit, or what was your mindset? Because you're down 2 scores still at that point. You got a tough road to hoe.
Yeah, that's a great question. We thought we could. I mean, their D line's the strength of their team. I mean, they're really, really good. We had 5 sacks on the day, and I think 4 or 5 holding calls, and that's a tribute to them. And so it was a lot of overcoming. We had a lot of stuff open, but we just kept bringing them on. I think we got a first down 3 times in one series and got them all brought back due to holdings. And so we just kind of adjust how we did. We moved some players around and change some things up. And then, eventually you don't want to make a habit dropping back and passing against them because, the odds are stacked against you a little bit. But we felt if we could just get, if they're just bringing 4, we could hold our own long enough that we could get some things down the field. And we got a couple guys, out of receiver, and Taryn Grady and Tristan Ducker and Mason Lee that, if we can get them one-on-one, they're going to win more than they lose. And so you got to roll the dice at that point. It's 24/7. You got nothing to lose anyway. So, we said we're going to go out like a ball of flames, or we're going to go out on top. And, fortunately, we've been making some plays when we had to.
Let me ask one other thing, Coach. As the game progressed, then you guys get the ball back a few minutes later after a fumble. Watkins makes a nice cutback run. Backside really opened up. Was that something that was a design where you guys were kind of trying to block down on the right side and open things up, or is that him just making a play at that point?
It's both. It was an inside zone play. On 3rd and short, they had a couple tendencies where they were going to bring double-edge pressures, what we call bullets off the edge that are blitzers. And so we had a couple of – it was our quarterback had the option to throw, speed outs if he wanted to, or run an inside zone, and it's just done simultaneously. And when those guys blitz off the edge, they came up the field a lot. And so we really had our tight ends really – on the backside, I think it was Alex Tramer, really just pushed that wall down, and then it's designed cutback. Inside zone a lot of times cuts back, and we were really planning on getting 5 to 6 yards, and fortunately for us, their safety kind of misplayed it, and we were fast enough that when you get through, Ant made a great run, and just bounced it, and that was a jolt of energy, and then boom, it's like the kids got it, believed it, and here we go, and there was no stopping us then.
Absolutely.
Hey, Coach, this is Chuck Bittner. You've had one heck of a month, and as a result, people around the conference and around the country are talking about Wayne State football. How are you talking with the team about making sure that they stay focused on just 1 week at a time and approaching this as a weekly season? Because you've got some more really tough games coming up, starting with another ranked opponent coming to town this weekend. Yeah,
it's not hard in this conference to really keep our kids focused. I'll tell you that much. You get through one game and you're ready to take a deep, breath of fresh air, and then you put on the film, and man, they're great, and it's like we've played 1-loss teams 4 weeks in a row, and Augustana might be the best of them here coming up. So, for our team, it's not real hard. We're picked 10th in the conference preseason, so we fight that perception and reality battle. We're trying to change reality as the season goes along, and so far kids are kind of answering the bell a little bit, but we've got a really hungry group. We're really young, obviously, and that helps. They don't buy into the narrative, if you will, and they just know each week we got to practice well, perform well, and we're just not good enough to show up. And so as coaches, I think our coaching staff does a really good job. I mean, as far as with installs, practice, we keep it fresh. We change things up enough that our kids really stay engaged, and plus it's a lot of fun for them. They're having fun. Winning's fun. We all have fun together. You see us, we're going to joke around and clown around as much as we can. And so right now, it's cool that, Wayne State gets some branding, but, such a long way to go that our guys know it's one game at a time and really one play at a time. And it's cliche-ish, but it's, winning's a mindset, and we're trying to get it there. I mean, talent's talent, football's football, but winning is a mindset. And so that's a work in progress for us, and if Hopefully the kids just stay with it and keep buying in. But I think we're kind of a bunch of no names. We don't have any all-stars. I mean, we're not going to have any players of the week very often or guys up for awards. It's just a bunch of guys that, play their butts off, and we're big on passion. All I ask is that when the game's over, the other coach says, you guys play with some passion. And I think we're doing that right now.
So Coach, this is Chris Ferguson, and I just want to say that we also like to have fun around here. Okay, so on last week's pick'em, we had this game up, and there was only one person who selected. So who chose Wayne State College last week? And it was this guy right here. I believed in you.
Hey, whatever you guys pick, keep it the same this week. That's the way out.
I'll keep it going then.
Okay, all right, keep it the same. We'll take whatever luck we can get. We need all the help we can get. Well, appreciate your confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my question is, when you look at Wayne State history, you kind of see that they had, 2 winning seasons in the last 10 years or so. Last went to the playoffs in 2008, and I know it's a little early, but I guess I would like to know a little bit about the buzz around campus, given the hot start and the really good start that the team has had so far.
Oh, it's incredible. It's a lot of fun. There's a good buzz around town. The campus is excited. Our alums are excited, and it's really fun for our kids to be around just because everybody wants it. And the college has, started to provide us resources to be successful and get here. And I don't think anybody plans on a certain, path that it's going to take. You kind of roll the ball out and just see how things end up. But right now they've been going pretty well, and we hope to continue that. And so they're having fun with it. The kids are having fun with it, and the campus is alive. I mean, the games are packed. There's people in the stands, and it's fun to have winning around you because they want that. And, it's evident, God, we watched the 2019 film when Mankato and Wayne State played, and it wasn't pretty. I think it might have been 62-2 or something. We weren't going to show the kids that. I knew that much, but it was like 2 different teams. There was a lot of the same guys playing, but it's just good it's refreshing for those, and it's really fun right now. It's a great question. The campus is really excited, and each game's getting bigger and bigger, and so it's fun to see our kids do that. And typically, if a team from Wayne State goes up to Mankato, they're probably scared, or nervous, or, you've all been around teams where the game's over before you get off the bus. And that's the narrative. That's what we're trying to fight, that perception and reality thing. And I was really proud of our kids to go up there and, you can talk it all you want, but then you fall behind 24/7, to what's probably supposed to happen. And, and they fought back and they keep punching. And so that's fun for these guys. And then the campus just loves it. I mean, that's just it's fun to be around right now. So we'll try and keep it going.
Excellent, Coach. My name is Justin Polizzi, and congratulations on the hot start, 5-1 for the first time since 2012, I believe. So I guess having previously been at Wayne State as the offensive coordinator, what did you see in the program that made you want to return as the head coach?
Justin, great question. So that's a really good question. And there was probably more that I didn't like when I left than I liked. And that I probably better backpedal on that a little bit. I mean, I really liked it here. I loved it.
We are live, Coach, but anyway.
What I'm getting at is when Dan was here, Dan McLaughlin did such a good job, with what he had. But, we were probably operating on 22, 21 scholarships. And the branding quite wasn't where it needed to be. But, it was hard to just, what he did when he won or there was that success. It's hard to sustain. That's 14. You're short 14 scholarships compared to other ones. So, I mean, it's a matter of time before math catches up to you. Each class, each scholarship class is about, 6 to 7 scholarships, each signing class is. So, when I got the call about it, I was really hesitant because I said, you only get one shot at being a head coach usually, and you want to be able to bet on yourself and, be a winner. And so our AD, Mike Powicki, and President Ramus just said, well, tell us what you need. And we were going to Ferris State to play in the semifinals, and this was over Thanksgiving. It's I guess it would have been a Friday. And so I sent an email, and just said, listen, we got to get our scholarships up. We need 2 more coaches. I mean, there's only 4 coaches on staff. Right. Scholarships had to go up. Recruiting budgets had to be this. And so this is over Thanksgiving weekend. And in 24 hours, I had gotten a letter back basically saying yes to everything. They got in charge of they'd gotten a hold of the chancellor of the state college system. And so that was encouraging. And then they're like, well, you should take a look at campus. And I was like, well, I've kind of been here already. I get it. And they're like, well, just come down. And I came to campus, there's new press box. And in 5 years, everything had really changed. I mean, it was amazing how much they had reinvested in the product, which is what I really believe in, especially is like reinvested in your kids and reinvested in the product. And the new press box, all the building, the student center had been redone. They'd add some majors, all the dorms had been redone. I mean, it was awesome. The campus was full, up 20%. And then I met with the 8 Mike's awesome. And our president was fantastic. I mean, she was fantastic. I mean, I think might've been the first thing she said to me was like, we need a bigger scoreboard. And I was like, okay,
sure.
Yes, I agree.
If you twist my arm,
absolutely.
We'll
Take
agree.
whatever you can get.
Yeah.
And so, Dad told me there was a lot of passion there. They wanted to win. They wanted to have a chance, and they gave us the resources. And so that got me excited. And sometimes, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. And so having been here too, I also, we kind of know my OC's been here before, my DC's been here before. I mean, we'd all coached together, and our D-backs coach we coached at Central with, my O-line I coached with Central with, and they let me bring in a staff that all knew what we had to do, and recruiting really took off, and that was fun. And we knew what type of kids we needed to recruit, how to recruit, what battles we had to face. I mean, we got a battle with Mankato and Sioux Falls for kids, and we've been successful. We've won a lot of these battles, but there's a big difference in Sioux Falls and Mankato and Wayne, Nebraska. And so, part of it's making sure you get kids here, and then retention, of those kids, and then making sure they develop. And, right now we've got about, 7 true freshmen that are either starting or playing a ton of ball for us. And so I think our guys have done a great job, and, hopefully that, leads to a bright future. So that got me excited, and I thought we had a chance to bet on ourselves. And, I think in the conference, I didn't think we were too far away, but it's such a good conference. You just don't know. You need the ball to bounce your way and things to go, right. But we have the resources now to compete. We're getting closer on everything, and we have the backing of the administration, and we'll just bet on ourselves now. So that was kind of the main reason that we got here, and then was able to get a staff put together that I thought fit what we needed to do, and here we are.
All right, very good. Well, John, I congratulate you on your good start. Thanks for joining us, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for having me on, and I appreciate it. And go Cats.
Thanks, Coach.
That was John McMenamin, the head coach at Wayne State College. And John's former team, Northwest Missouri State, had a tremendous game this weekend as they had to come from behind to beat Pitt State. 20-19 is the score, is the final of that one. Pitt State led 13-0 at the half, and 16-0 following after an interception that started the second half on a deflected pass. I personally thought 16 was going to be all that Pitt State would need after the way their defense had played in the first half. Mike Hohensee threw for 3 touchdowns to give Northwest the lead. And then Pitt State kicker Cross Holmes missed a 44-yard attempt with 57 seconds left, and Northwest was able to hold on for the win.
Hey, Brandon, take us back to that moment when it's 13-0 at the half. Obviously, you got 30 minutes of football to play, but Northwest being shut out at the half doesn't happen a whole lot.
Sure.
I think it did happen twice in 2019, but it doesn't happen a whole lot that they're held scoreless in the half. But you got 30 minutes to make that up, but then you come out in the second half and you got a couple of plays that go against you. When it's 16-0, what's the feel like on the sidelines? What's the feel like in the stadium? Does at that point do you really start to feel like we're in trouble here?
Well, I thought they were. I honestly told people that were sitting next to me in the press box that at 16-0, I thought that was over. The game was over. I hate to talk about motivation because I believe that that college kids are motivated, I think they don't get to play enough, and I think that they're probably ready to play every week for the most part. And certainly no Northwest player or coach would ever overlook Pittsburg State, one of the storied programs in Division II. I just think Pitt State came out with a great scheme in the first half and on offense and defense, and Northwest didn't adjust to it. And in the second half, it looked like it was going to be more of the same after a deflect. There's some luck in that with a D lineman or a linebacker deflecting a pass that pops up and the defender's able to corral for the interception. But the Northwest defense did a good job after that interception, holding Pitt to only 3 points and with a field goal attempt. And, that ended up being one of the keys. As you saw, it was a 20-19 win. But I just think Pitt State's new coaching staff really had them prepared and, had a good game plan. And it was really a great performance by them. I think the credit needs to go in that direction. And there's obviously give some credit to Northwest Missouri State for coming back. That's it's tough to overcome that in a game where everything's going wrong for you. I guess, in some ways that mirrors the Wayne State game where everything was right for one team and you were able to flip the momentum and come back for a win.
Do you think injuries are starting to become, a little bit more of a problem for Northwest? I know they've had some problems with injuries at the quarterback position. It sounds like McKellar has been dinged up a little bit and a few other things. Are injuries starting to become a real concern for the Bearcats?
I think so there. Of course, you never truly know because, football's a different animal than it was 10 years ago with HIPAA laws and the way all that is approached now. You don't often know exact injuries and stuff. My sources were telling me that McKellar was really banged up and I don't think he was at the top of his game. And, Northwest is already down to the second string quarterback, and he was in a boot 2 weeks ago and re-injured his game against Missouri, or re-injured his leg in a game against Missouri Western last week. So I think, you could overcome one, but essentially, you have injuries to three of the most important players on your team. And I think that plays a small factor, but, again, I wouldn't take anything away from Pitt. But I do think it's something that, did and was of concern for the Bearcats in that game. All right, guys, let's move on then. Justin, we talked about the Gulf South last week and how we had all kinds of great things to look forward to all season long. And last week was not one of them. We had blowout after blowout. West Georgia beat Mississippi College 40-21. West Florida beat North Greenville 52-10. West Alabama beat Shorter 44-7. But I want to start with an incredibly disappointing result. Valdosta State wins 55-0 over Delta State, a game that we thought might be worthy, of a pick 'em. And Valdosta State just rolled them.
Yeah, they did. It was Valdosta State got on Delta State pretty early in the game and just really never looked back. They were clicking offensively. I thought then they made a lot of plays on the defense side of the ball. Delta State did a good job moving the football. They could never find the end zone. They couldn't find points. Delta State's defense or Valdosta's defense did a great job of bending, not breaking, keeping them out of the end zone and not allowing them to score. So I think if you ask Coach Goff, I think he'd probably tell you it was a fantastic game. If you ask Coach Cooley, I think it was a disaster.
Right.
Of note, what really surprised me, and when you talk about Valdosta, and I think we've talked about them a lot this year, is just their passing offense. But they ran for 401 yards on what I think is a pretty good Delta State defense. So that impressed me. Seth McGill, 186 yards, 14 carries. Jamar Tompkins, 134 yards, 10 carries. So doing pretty well. And again, Delta did a good job moving the ball offensively. They just could not find the end zone. And so I think this was a game that the Blazers really kind of needed to kind of get back in sync. I think they've played pretty well this year, but I think this kind of showed what their potential is. And I was quite disappointed in Valdosta or in Delta State because I expected more from them. I thought this would be a little bit of a closer game. I think we anticipated I think we anticipated it to be a little bit closer, be kind of more of a shootout, and it just never got there. I don't know if I don't know if they lost, the last week beat them twice, beat them this week. I'm not quite sure. I do know Shiga got hurt in the second quarter, and that may have attributed to it, them having to play a quarterback that doesn't get a lot of reps. So I'm not quite sure. I don't really know what to say about Delta State. I was disappointed.
Right. Well, those things happen. The worst part about it, to me, is that people won't believe us anymore when we say that we've got great Gulf South Conference action coming up. Why would they believe us after that weekend? But I
was looking forward to it all day. I was looking forward to the game. I thought it was gonna be a pretty good game. So yeah.
I watched that entire game, and Justin, I had a lot of the same reactions, and I do think. People that didn't watch it might not realize that Delta State did actually move the ball fairly well early in the game, at least. They moved the ball okay, but Valdosta State just really put them in positions where they had to start going for fourth downs when they didn't want to. They had to throw the ball when they didn't want to. Just really threw them off their rhythm from so early in the game. But I think what really stood out to me was just the dominance of Valdosta State's offensive line. I mean, some of those rushing plays, they have a lot of talent in the backfield at Valdosta State, but I mean, some of those rushing plays, they're just completely untouched to the next level, and then just turned on the speed.
Well, and again, I think that when we talk about Valdosta State, we don't have to talk about their rushing attack, but it kind of solidified that to me in my mind this weekend. Like, they can throw the football, but now they can run the football, and you have to, which one do you take away, right? Like, you can't take away both. So I think that this was a game to me that really kind of set them up, I think, for the rest of the season, because they're going to start running the gauntlet now of Gulf South teams. They have West Alabama this weekend on the road. So, I think it's going to be, they needed this one to keep it rolling here in the next couple weeks.
I think so too. And I watched quite a bit of the West Florida at North Greenville game. And actually you and I spoke about that a couple weeks ago, and we kind of thought that had potential to be a little bit of a trap game for West Florida, because we think North Greenville has some talented football players. It wasn't a perfect outing for West Florida, but I think they scored on their first 4 possessions and ended up winning going away. I think the thing that stood out to me is I know I watched some of their players on social media. They've all said, we have not peaked yet. We have not yet, hit perfection. We're not yet playing our best football. We're winning these games. We feel really good, but we haven't peaked yet by any means. And I kind of agree with that. I don't think we've seen the best from them at all. And I'm really curious to see in the next couple of weeks, when they finally get to play some home games, if we start to really see the best of West Florida come out.
But what's the peak? I mean, if you're scoring over 50 points, what's the peak here? Shutout?
That's the question. What is the ceiling for that football team? Austin Reed had 4 touchdowns passing yesterday, something around 250, 260 yards. Not his best performance, but he played very, very well. He makes NFL type of throws. So I think that's really a question, is what is the ceiling for West Florida? But, we kind of joked about, taking a little bit of a hit in our credibility because it wasn't a great week for GSC football, but hang in there. It's going to get good. It's really going to get good when West Alabama, West Georgia, Valdosta, and West Florida start playing each other.
And one thing that was good last past week was a CIAA matchup between Bowie State and Chowan. Bowie State's defense was really good. This is going to help restore our credibility. Maybe we really focused on the fact that Chowan had not played a defense like Bowie State, and that played out perfectly. They shut down Bryce Witt. I think they're probably the team to beat in the CIAA, Chris. And again, I was really proud of the fact that, hey, we got something right, and that defense made a difference in that game.
Yeah, I mean, the number here is 200, right? So neither team got 200 yards of offense in this game. And combined, they're like the most penalized teams in the conference. Combined, they had 198 yards of penalties. So right at that 200 mark too. The other interesting thing was the number 9, which means that both teams combined had 9 sacks because they both had a very ferocious pass rush. and they both combined for converting only 9 third downs. And really, this game came down to mistakes. And a defensive battle like that, when you're looking to see who has the edge, it was all mistakes. And unfortunately, most of those fell against Chowan. Bryce Witt had a fumble that was a scoop and score for the Bowie defense in the first quarter. And then those penalties, when they had an opportunity, Chowan had an opportunity to get Bowie off the field on a 3rd and 20. Defensive player celebrates unsportsmanlike conduct, extends the drive, and then Bowie's running back, Khalil Wilkins, had probably one of the biggest plays of the game. And then you tacked on a 15-yard face mask to get them into the red zone. Chowan had their chances. They missed a field goal. They settled for another field goal. Those really needed to be touchdowns against a really good Bowie State defense, and they just couldn't get it done. But I tell you, this may be the game of the year. It's always like that in the CIAA, where the CIAA North over the last few seasons, the best game of the year is in the North Division. When we get to the discussion about playoffs, I mean, those are two teams that, have a great shot at both getting into the playoffs. And we got 3 of the 4 conferences represented here. And we talk a lot about the Gulf South, and we talk a lot about the SAC, but the CIAA certainly has the defenses to play against some of those, high mid-tier teams. They're probably not going to keep up with the West Florida. They're probably not going to keep up, maybe even with the Valdosta. But they have their chances, though. They will have their chances.
Not a lot of people keep up with West Florida, though. So I mean, that's not necessarily an indictment on their ability. So
right.
Chris, and watching that, I watched a good portion of that game as you and I were kind of texting a little off and on, and I was really impressed with how both defenses really got after the quarterback. I mean, both quarterbacks are running for their lives when I was watching, and they really disrupted what Bryce Witt and his offense wanted to do. But I thought Chowan played pretty darn good defensively themselves. So as you mentioned, I'd be kind of interested to see if those squads end up landing in the playoffs. How do they do against some other opponents, and are they going to be able to get after the quarterback on those other teams and stuff? So I think it kind of poses an interesting question for sure for the postseason.
Well, what's interesting is Chowan over the last couple seasons really was not doing very well on defense, and they brought in a new coach, Colin Neely, who was a defensive coordinator at Edinburgh, and he has really helped to shore that defense up to where they are today. Chowan is one of the leading schools in the country in sacks. And even against a pretty good offensive line in Bowie State, they still got to the quarterback. So a huge turnaround for Chowan's defense. And a lot of credit goes to Mark Hall and to Colin Neely there.
All right, man, let's transition to Super Region 1. The MEC, we had a great game where between Notre Dame and Devin's favorite FSU, which is Frostburg State. Notre Dame wins 23-21. We are 6 games in, and things are crazy. Nothing is decided in the MEC. So it's a 3-way tie, Chuck, between Charleston, Notre Dame, and Frostburg. What's going to happen?
Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit last week. It just seems like the most 2021 thing possible that, there's a clear path. Because Frostburg wins that game, they've got a clear path potentially to the conference championship.
Right.
But if Notre Dame wins that, then we've got a 3-way tie, and who knows what's going to happen over the last month and a half of the season. And that was a really, really good game. It was everything we expected it to be. It was a really tight battle, mostly defensive. Frostburg's got a really good, sound football team. We're going to hear a lot from them the next couple of years. They had a great defensive effort. Kicking points were really a big difference. So, Whit, I know how much you like to talk about kickers and punters. Kicking points were.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah.
Wait till the trivia, buddy. It's on its way.
Kicking points were a big factor in that game. Frostburg did a great job of standing tall and forcing Notre Dame to kick field goals, but Notre Dame hit 3 out of 5, and that ended up being the difference in the game. So the result of that is that now you've got Notre Dame, Frostburg State, and Charleston all tied at 4-1 in the Mountain East Conference, and you've got kind of a round robin of head-to-head advantages. Charleston beat Notre Dame beat Frostburg beat Charleston. So, what it really translates to is it makes every game for the rest of the season that much more interesting, because somebody who's not really in the championship race has a chance to make a lot of noise by potentially knocking off one of those teams. So I look at a team like Fairmont State, who started off the year 0-3. They've now won 3 games in a row. They still have to play 2 of those teams. So maybe they get a win that kind of makes things go a little bit crazy. UNC Pembroke is a little bit of a wild card because they're still new in that conference. They're kind of still finding their footing, but they're a good football team. They might get one of those teams. So it just really makes every game that much more interesting. So if Frostburg had won, they've got that clear path and control their destiny. So now that it's the 3-way tie, it's going to be a really fascinating 5 weeks to close the season.
But the next, go ahead.
I was going to say, Chuck, you make a really good point about the potential teams that could challenge those 3. There's 5 teams in that conference that are 500 right now. So, I mean, you've got, several teams that could take their shot at any of those top 3 and certainly make that spoiler like you just mentioned.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing, is that those teams are going to have a say in who wins the conference championship, and I think that's fun, and just the way the season's played out. I think that among those 3 teams that are kind of fighting for the title, one of them is probably going to lose another game. They might lose more than one. So those teams, Fairmont, I think Concord is going to peak a little bit late in the season. They haven't made a whole lot of noise yet, but I like what they have. That could be a team that gets an unexpected win. So, you get late into October and early into November, it could get very interesting.
All right. Now we will transition to the Lone Star Conference / Super Region 4. It is a mess, guys. Saginaw Valley this past weekend beat Texas A&M Commerce in overtime, and then West Texas was upset by Angelo State, and Midwestern State had to come back to beat Texas A&M Kingsville. I know I'm just throwing this at you guys, but what is up with the Lone Star Conference?
Well, I would say this: the Angelo WT deal, they were like 1-1 in the spring, so they're almost like kind of have each other's number, and it's almost not really surprising what the outcome was going to be in that game. Okay. So I think that's a little bit of a tidbit there. The Commerce Saginaw Valley game is just kind of perplexing as to what happened there, and then with Midwestern, you did see how they played Central Washington, and I think they got some struggles going on. I think there in Wichita Falls, so it's just up for grabs, but I don't think there's a really clear winner here anymore.
Yeah, no one's really asserting themselves in the conference. Chuck, obviously, I know you've talked about Permian Basin in the past. Are you still kind of keeping an eye on them a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely, Whit. Thanks for queuing that up. I was going to jump in with that. I am still keeping an eye on them. Now, they have not had a ton of competition yet with the top teams. Now, they did beat West Texas, but looking at their schedule coming up, they've got Angelo, Eastern New Mexico, Commerce, and Kingsville, and then close the season with Midwestern. Now, they beat some of those teams in the spring. So that's definitely still something that I'm keeping an eye on, that's a potential spoiler out there, that, again, a team that not a lot of people know about or have talked about, that really has the opportunity to upset the establishment. So yeah, absolutely, I'm keeping an eye on them.
So I want to bring up something, and Inkblot, it's very appropriate that we bring your comment on now. They said that Permian Basin has still only played 3 Division II opponents. Later, we're going to look at a graph that he made about the playoffs, but right now I want to bring up a graph and look at Super Region 4, guys. Only one undefeated team left in the entire Super Region, if you guys can see that. Colorado Mines.
I put my glasses on. We're good.
Okay, great. Colorado Mines is 6-0, but Augustana, Minnesota Duluth, Wayne State all with 1 loss. Midwestern State and Permian Basin with a loss. Western Colorado and Colorado Mesa with 1 loss. Then you have a bunch of teams with 2 losses. Texas A&M Commerce with 3 losses, not on the list, although they have 2 region losses. This is the biggest mess I have ever seen. It also leads me to believe that it will allow some people to hold out hope longer than they otherwise would have, because, would it shock anybody if somebody knocked off Mines? I mean, they haven't been as dominant as they had in the past. So you might
it almost happened last weekend.
Right.
Yeah, West Texas.
You might have a super region where the team with the bye has, well, certainly at least 1 loss, but maybe 2. Can you guys recall anything that messy in the past?
Not really.
Okay.
The Northern Sun was able to get a 3-loss team in 2019, and I think it's almost a certainty that you're going to see a few 3-loss teams in this season in that super region, because there's so many games left to be played between the teams that were on the graphic a moment ago.
Right.
And no one is looking like a fire-breathing dragon. And so when you take a look at that, I think you're going to see a lot of, one team beats another, this guy beats the other guy. And I would not be surprised to see, maybe 2 teams with 1 loss each, then maybe some 2-loss squads and some 3-loss squads, all in that same super region.
I think the other thing about that super region is the Lone Star they're not a silo scheduler. They actually have to go out of conference for quite a few games. So it leaves you more susceptible to having those losses than teams that you're used to playing and can set up for.
Yep.
All right. So I want to expand on that, and I'm going to take things out of order, but because Inkblot's comment, and then we're going to use his it's something he's done. He's been very accurate in the past about predicting regional rankings. And I want to expand from Super Region 4 to talk about how the playoffs would look if they were to start today. And there are some really neat things that have happened in regards to the playoffs. The new rule was implemented in 2019 where teams could leave one region and go to another region, meaning if the geography made sense, it allowed the NCAA to save money. They might move Augustana to another region or whoever. It doesn't matter. So let me pull up the graphic that he had built today. And I know this is going to be smaller.
This is only teams. The moving around can only be teams that wouldn't host, correct? So 5, 6, 7 type seeds.
That is correct. Right. Yes. And I know the graphic is small, and I apologize, but it's the best we can do on the short notice.
Wow, Chuck's going to have to read this to me.
In super, we'll read it to the elder statesmen of our staff. Super Region 1 stays the same. Bentley, Kutztown, Shepherd, Notre Dame, California and Slippery Rock, and Ohio Dominican would be the last team in. Super Region 1 stays there. Super Region 3, the teams that make it would be number 1 Henderson, 2 Grand Valley, 3 Northwest Missouri, 4 Ferris State, 5 Harding, 6 Lindenwood, and 7 Nebraska Kearney. But Nebraska Kearney would be moved to Super Region 4, and Minnesota Duluth would be swapped into Super Region 3. That's actually a 1-to-1 swap. The teams that would make it from 4 are Colorado Mines, Wayne State would be the number 2, Central Washington 3, Midwestern State 4, and then the 5 was Duluth that went to Super Region 3, and then 6 is Permian Basin, 7 is Augustana, and then Super Region 2 is intact. Valdosta, Bowie, West Florida, West Alabama, Wingate, Albany State, and Savannah State in that order. I'm going to pull us back down, men. But last week's was much more interesting than this one was. This one only had a few slops. But last week, were there 5 teams that could have potentially been involved in a swap, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And, we talked about this in the past week. The thing is you won't know. You won't have a clue until the teams are selected. You can't project forward because one team getting selected could change that
Yep.
entire dynamic of 3 other regions.
Yeah, I mean, and we can't say this enough, that keep in mind this is a snapshot in time. So this is not with future opponents predicted or anything like that right now. This is just where do people sit in terms of the numbers right now, not the polls or anything else. So this is just based off the NCAA criteria, of course. So with that all in mind, yeah, I mean, we had 5 that he had on the page where literally, I believe, every super region was affected by a team coming into their super region that isn't normally a part of it. So 2 weeks in a row, unless I'm mistaken, I think Duluth is going to Northwest, if I'm seeing that right. So that almost Duluth looks like they're almost like a likely squad to possibly make that move.
Let me pull that back up, Matt. I don't think it was Northwest. It was hold on just a second. Let me pull comment down and I can.
Okay. Because it was Northwest a week ago.
Last week it was. This week, the potential matchup would be the most boring matchup. Once again, Northwest and Harding, which seems to have happened every playoffs in the past 10 years. This was Duluth and Grand Valley.
Wow, so, that's pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, that's much more interesting. We want to talk about this because we found it interesting what had happened last week. This wasn't nearly as eventful, but again, one team can change it, as Inkblot said. And again, I want to thank Inkblot for doing this because it's a lot of work to figure it out, and he's got a real knack for doing it. So
I think it's kind of neat to look at this week to week. And, just because you're ranked number 5, or you're landing, I shouldn't say ranked, it's more like you're landing on number 5 in a super region at this moment and you don't lose. That doesn't mean you're not going to drop. It's a moving thing week to week based upon your resume.
So does Inkblock have like number 8? Or does he do the top 7?
No, I'm sure he has it.
Oh, okay.
Only the top 7 make the playoffs, Chris.
Right. He would know who it is, but yeah.
I have to explain that week after week, but I think it'll be interesting because, as you kind of mentioned, you don't factor in future opponents, right? So
correct.
You kind of see like Albany State, Savannah State, they got to play each other, right? So somebody could end up with 2 losses. Who's that number 18 that could come in and take that 6 or 7 seed? That's what I was kind of curious about.
And somebody gets a bump if they beat somebody good.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Chuck, you look like you're chomping at the bit to say after soaking all that.
You guys actually understand the criteria probably even better than I do, but just having studied this and watched it so closely, late in the season for the better part of 20 years, it's always a fun discussion topic, but it will change a lot week to week. And we really won't know who's going to make it and where they're going to land until all the games are played. But this is always fun for conversation. So yeah, I love the work that Inkblock did it's the type of stuff that we all think about all year long.
Right. And I think it's important also as an educational tool to help people understand what's going on, education and information. So
yeah, I think
that's why I wanted to do it.
I think as a columnist, it's probably the one thing that I've spent more time doing than anything else is just explaining what makes up the NCAA selection criteria. What's involved, what is factored into it, what is not factored into it. Because it is kind of unique. It's not like a lot of other things that fans are used to. It is different. So, it's good for education and just helping people understand what goes into the selection process.
Yeah, I think a good example of that was Permian Basin. In that top 7 with only 3 games, right? One game was a FCS game that doesn't count.
Right.
So. Things like that are something that, I certainly spend a lot of time trying to explain, it's only Division II games and you kind of go from there.
So just for everybody that doesn't understand what this comment means, he's talking about the D2 football message board. He posted the top 10 on the board. So anybody who's curious, including Chris Ferguson, can go there and find out who is number 8.
Go on there right now.
Yeah.
To kind of expand on something that you said, Chris, I just looking at big picture, I think the SIAC is in a better position right now than they have been in quite a few years. And I really think that one of the reasons for that is that they've played a lot more out of conference Division II games this year. They typically play a lot of FCS opponents. And this year, I'm not sure why it worked out that way. There were still some of those games, but they have a lot more Division II competition. And I think that's really going to help them by the end of the season.
Yeah, you have the teams there that they have historical rivalries. Miles, for example, who has been to the playoffs in recent years, but I think they scheduled Southern this year, and Tuskegee, who's not even going to attempt the playoffs this year and go back to the Turkey Day Classic. But Albany State's not really one of those teams. They historically have attempted to get to the playoffs and not rely on those classic games or money games against the FCS HBCUs, and they've got some out of conference wins against other D2 schools, so that are not in conference. So it's a good thing to see. Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, well, guys, I think we're going to have a long show tonight because we still got a lot to talk about and things that I think are important to talk about. We're at the halfway point, just over. In 11-game season, we've played 6 weeks. I think it's time we could probably start talking about Harlon Hill candidates. I think maybe Bryce Witt has been eliminated as a top, a front runner or one of the top 4.
I had that same thought, Brandon, when I was watching the end of that game. I was like, this might have shot him in the foot right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Hurtful.
Right.
I'm hurt.
But it is time to look at other candidates now who might be front runners and even some dark horses for the Harlon Hill Trophy. I know we came up with a list. They're names that we've talked about all year. Tyson Bagent obviously is one of them. But then there's a lot of other guys that I think Chuck made the list that might not be as well known. That would be potential candidates for the Harlon Hill Trophy. Who is somebody that stood out to any of you guys? Just throwing it out there.
Wait, tell me about Danny Kittner.
Kittner is probably going to lead D2 in catches, probably going to lead in yards as well for Mary. They're throwing for 350 yards a game, but they're still, at best, probably going to end up being a 500 team, probably a little bit below that. They still have a lot of meat on the bone with their schedule. So I think there's some challenges with that when you're not on a team that's probably discussed as much, quite there, like we would be on this show, frankly. But he's having a tremendous year, and he's really been a fine player.
Yeah, I think being from a kind of unheralded or under the radar program it really works against you with the Harlon Hill, and I think that's going to impact a player that I've been watching since the start of the season, and the player that I think Justin actually got to see this past weekend too, running back Jordan Terrell from Barton College. Now Barton's a brand new Division II football program. He has the yards and he has the performance, but just watching him play, he's also just an exceptional ball carrier. He has really good vision. He has good balance. And when he gets to the next level, he's got great breakaway speed. And I'm sorry, I'm going to kind of put Justin on the spot, but Justin, I think you probably got to see him on Saturday. What did you think? And I think you might need to come off mute. We had to, if you're out there, Justin, I think we had you on mute when you were out of the room.
Let me see.
All right, got it now.
There we go.
Right,
okay,
gotcha.
Great.
Sorry about that. No, yeah, I did have the opportunity to see him play this weekend. He is an exceptional athlete. Mars Hill, I thought, did a great job of keeping him pretty quiet. He had one run, it was 82-yard touchdown run, and kind of what you alluded to, Chuck. He hit the hole and it got creased in a hurry, and they didn't catch him. I mean, he pulled away from everybody. He was by far the fastest player on the field at that point, but they did a good job of keeping him quiet. I think he only had about 40 yards outside of that that big run. But yeah, when he hits it hard and fast. I mean, he's an exceptional ball carrier, and I believe he's only a freshman.
He is. He's a great back. And that Mars Hill defense did do a really good job against him, by the way. Justin Felder, somebody commented about him from Stonehill. He's a really, really good running back. He's just got the complete skill set. I don't know if his numbers are quite as flashy right now as some of the other running backs. Terrell was one I had earmarked. Toriano Clinton from UIndy, great football player.
He was the one I was most interested, Chuck, and I'm glad you put him on the list because late, everybody knows late in the summer, Al McKellar transferred from UIndy to Northwest Missouri. Those close to the program who didn't want to put their name on on the opinion said, we're not worried at all about this because we believe in Toriano Clinton. And for everything, all indications were that they were going to split carries. So I truly believe that they truly thought that Toriano Clinton was going to be good. So he's a guy I've been interested in all year, and it looks like he's lived up to everything that they said about him.
Yeah, he's already over 1,000 yards for the season, 176 yards per game, and 13 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, 7.2 per carry. I always, the yards per carry, any kind of efficiency is always interesting to me. To me, passing efficiency is more interesting than yards and things like that. But 7.2 carry is great.
I agree. And that would be the one downside to Jordan Terrell, who I just talked about, 6 yards per carry. That's on the low side of the other running back candidates that I've been looking at.
Yeah, I agree.
Brandon, do you think Al McKellar, if Northwest were to make a strong run here and maybe he scores a little bit more than he has, but I don't think he's got a lot of touchdowns, but do you think he becomes a guy that people look at a little bit with them getting a lot of attention nationally?
Well, I think the possibility exists because he's had run in the past.
Right.
I think that does help. Traditionally Northwest, for as good a program as they have had, Blake Bowles is the only player that's ever been a finalist for the Harlon Hill. And I think he got third, whatever, it's irrelevant. But, that's not been a program that is really good at getting awards for guys. Having said that, I think because of the history, I think that will help. That would help his case a little bit more. And, but my guess is that it would take a 2,000-yard season.
Right.
That's what it would take. And, in Northwest Missouri distributes the football so much. It's hard for one guy to get the ball that much. Having said that, it was a little different when Xavier Oman was there, who was a special back as Northwest has ever had. And McKellar, while not Oman, is, one of the best backs that Northwest has had. So there's a potential at that position for him to get the carries. But if I had to, make a strong case one way or the other, I would tend to believe not, because they're going to worry about winning games rather than getting players awards. Yeah,
you have to have the stats. We know who votes for this, and the people who vote for this don't necessarily get to watch and observe these players to the extent that we do, and really kind of put that that eye test to go along with the statistical record. Stats really mean so much to the Harlon Hill Award. I think I've thought since the end of last season, the best player in Division II football right now is Austin Reed, the quarterback at West Florida.
I was just going to bring that up.
I still believe that. Right now, in my opinion, the undisputed front runner for the Harlon Hill is Tyson Bagent because of the statistical numbers that he has.
Yeah, he's shooting himself way out there right now.
Yeah,
right.
I think one person we haven't talked about is Cody Schrader at Truman. I mean, another lesser known program, but he leads the nation in total offense. And can run and catch the ball, and I think that he matters a lot to this Truman State ball club that's 5-1.
Yep.
He would have a better opportunity at that program than he would at others. And yes, Chuck, you said exactly what I was thinking, that sometimes these things are way too stat dependent. At least that's what I'm interpreting you as saying. The best player doesn't always win. It's the guy who racked up the best stats, because Austin Reed played an FCS team. He's going to play a Gulf South schedule. The stats, his stat line right now with an 18-3 touchdown to interception ratio, and I told you I like efficiency stats. 170 quarterback rating is really, really good, and he's doing that against a great schedule because they played Commerce, who, although they've lost 3 games, is a good team. He's not doing that against Rummy. So
right.
I agree with your thoughts on Austin Reed.
Yeah, I think we're probably thinking of it the same way, Brandon. It's like who do I think the best player is versus who do I think has the best chance to win the award right now based on what I know about the voting. And it's definitely Bajan as the front runner because of his performance. He's a really good player, but the statistical numbers are just out of this world right now.
Absolutely.
Chuck, you had kind of inquired about a Northern Sun player a moment ago. I think if Thurl Reisdorfer at University of Sioux Falls, their running back, had stayed healthy, I think he probably would have been the top guy from the conference. He was off to a very good start before getting injured. He's missed basically the last 2 games, and obviously his numbers are going to tail off. But his last season in 2019, he scored 19 times, and he was probably going to be on pace for being 1,500, 1,800 yards, and would have been with a program that had a chance to get to the playoffs and such. And with his injury, obviously it hurts Sioux Falls as a squad, but I think he would probably be the first guy I had in mind that probably had a chance to be in that final 5-6 or something like that.
Yeah, you know what? Since you said that, it made me think of a couple things that are just helpful for people to know. One of them is that each school can only nominate 1 player.
Right.
Because there are a couple of teams that probably have more than 1 player who realistically could be a candidate, but each school can only nominate 1 player. And then the early rounds of voting are regional until we get down to the final rounds. So, just a couple things for people to know about Harlon Hill as we start to get close to the voting.
And Chuck, who votes at the regional level?
The votes are actually cast by the sports information director. So basically each school gets a vote. Now, within each school, who's actually paying the most attention and giving the strongest opinion about who that vote should go towards, that could vary. It might be the head coach. It might be the athletic director. It might be somebody else on the staff, but essentially each school gets 1 vote, and it's the sports information director who officially casts that ballot.
All right. Let's talk about last week's pick'em because I need something to brag about. And so last week, Chuck and I were great, except for the fact that John McMenamin's Wildcats kept us from having a perfect week. As you see, Devin, not so hot. Justin, 3 out of 5. Matt, not so hot either. And Chris,
Pitt State,
the same as us. Yes. Well, I feel like you made that pick just to mess with Devin. So I really won't count.
When it was 16-0, I didn't.
We almost cashed in, yeah.
I was going to be running this deal if the Pitt State would have followed through. But
well, I was going to joke.
They kind of had a popcorn fart ending to it. But
I thought I've never done a pick 'em before, but I was gonna mess with you guys. Say if it's this easy to embarrass everybody, I've just been doing this all the time. But
right, yes.
Let's talk about next week, because next week is awesome. It is unbelievable. I want to show you guys. This is this week's pick'em games. Fair State is at Grand Valley. IUP is at Slippery Rock. Augustana, Wayne State. Valdosta State and West Alabama, and Harding and Henderson State. It was so good that West Florida and West Georgia playing each other is not a pick'em game, and Lindenwood at Indianapolis. But it's incredible that we had to make that choice, and we defaulted away from having West Georgia and West Florida as a game because I would have picked West Florida, and I assume everybody else would have too. And that's not quite as much fun as it is when somebody like Matt picks Pitt State and they come away with a win. So we will make our picks. And then I know we're running long, guys, but I want to talk about this week in a little detail with Grand Valley and Fair State. Let's just go in order. I'll start this week. I got Fair State and Grand Valley. I am going to go with Grand Valley at home. Chuck.
I'm going to go with Grand Valley too.
Okay. Chris.
Fair State.
Okay. Matt.
I simply can't go against Ferris State right now. I think they've played well enough.
Okay, Justin.
So Matt Mitchell got his 100th win this past weekend in 128 games at Grand Valley State. So I'm going to take Grand Valley State and win 101.
Very good. And Devin Albertson gave his picks because he's at the Chiefs game. I don't know whether he's happy or miserable right now, but he did pick Grand Valley. All right.
You mean we can just make picks and not show up?
Yeah.
What kind of deal is this?
Devin's the only one that gets away with that.
Okay.
So, all right. We're going to do IUP at Slippery Rock. Best rivalry in the PSAC. It's awesome. Chuck, a PSAC grad, former PSAC columnist, former Pennsylvania resident. You go first.
By far the best rivalry in the PSAC. I'm going to go with what might be a mild upset in this. I'm going to pick IUP.
Okay. All right, Chris.
Rock.
Matt.
I probably haven't had Slippery Rock real high in my rankings all year long, despite, some others I know are much more fond of them. And I can't get the Mankato game of 2019 out of my head. But at the same time, they've played well this year, and I'm going to take them there. Yep.
Okay. Justin.
The Rock.
Okay.
As well.
And I'm going to echo what you said, Matt. I think you and I have been the most critical of Slippery Rock. Not critical in terms of the ranking, not about anything that they're doing.
Right.
Having said that, I'm going to go with you, and I'll pick Slippery Rock to win this game at home. Augustana is at Wayne State. I'll tell you, Devin picked Wayne State, and he also picked IUP, by the way. We'll start with Chris. Augustana is at Wayne State, Chris. I'm sure you've got a Post-it note for this.
Not going to change it up here.
Okay,
Going Wayne State all the way.
You should have made him do that right when we had John on there.
All right,
I
Matt.
believe in you.
All right, Matt, what do you got?
You know what? I have picked against Wayne State when they played Duluth, Winona, and when they just played against Mankato. So I want to make sure I can get John McMenamin some good bulletin board material, and I'm going to go ahead and take Augie. We'll go for 4 straight here.
Okay. Justin.
Wayne State.
Okay.
I don't even know how to follow that up either.
I'll be getting a text message any moment.
I will go against John McMenamin's Wayne State Wildcats and choose the Augustana College Vikings. Are they university or are they still college?
They're university. Direct your concerns to Brandon Meisner at D2FOOTBALL.com.
Hey, I've been covering this long enough to have both of them, to have covered college and university.
We've gone through a lot of those transitions over the years.
No doubt, Chuck. No doubt. So who would you pick on this one, Chuck?
I'm going to go with Wayne State. It's awfully difficult to sustain the success they've had when it's a little bit new to you. But Coach was very kind to join us tonight and gave us some great insights and was really generous with his time. So I can't go against that. He's fired up. He's ready to go. I'm going to go with Wayne State.
All right. So he.
That's your basis for the picks. As he joined us.
Well, the worst part is that I've known John since like 2000. And so everybody else was being nice. And I'm like, nah, he's going to lose. So Valdosta State and West Alabama, man, the Blazers looked good last week. Devin picked the Blazers, but Matt, you're going to start us off. Who are you going to pick in that matchup?
I've been very high on Valdosta all year. And after last week, I see no reason to change that thinking. So I got him here.
Okay. Justin Polizzi, the man who should get this right. The rest of us can get it wrong, but you've got to get it right, brother.
Nothing like a little pressure. No, I like the way Valdosta State's playing right now. I think they're hot, and I'm gonna ride that train another week. Valdosta State.
All right. In spite of the fact that I said it's really boring when we all pick the same team to win, I will also pick the Valdosta State Blazers, and that will leave Chuck.
Yeah, I hope that game this past weekend against Delta isn't influencing me too much, but that just looked like a team that's going to be really, really hard to beat. So I'm going to go with Valdosta.
Okay. Everybody picks Valdosta. I think wise picks. So
I'm
Harding
gonna go with
is
Valdosta.
No,
by the way.
Ferg didn't pick, did he?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
going Valdosta as well.
yeah, okay. Chris, I'm sorry. I had 6 and I wrote somebody down wrong. That's what happened. I saw I had 6 names down and wrote somebody twice. So no worries. All right. Chris picks Valdosta, just to be sure. Who do I have? Whatever. It doesn't matter. All right. Harding is at Henderson State. Henderson State is on a roll. Harding has been playing very well since their loss to Southeastern Oklahoma. Justin, you're going to get this started on this one.
Henderson State.
Awesome. Okay. All right, Justin. My screen hasn't frozen up. I'm really having a tough time with this one.
Harding plays Henderson, by the way.
Thank you.
Is it a college or university?
Yes.
Yes, it'll be the next thing. Who's their kicker?
Get that's the important thing.
You passing the kidney? Let's go already.
I'm going to go with Henderson State. I think that would have been less painful than making that selection.
Thanks for all the reasoning. It took them 30
Yes.
seconds just to give me a name, but okay.
Yeah, you're welcome. So all the analysis is in here, and it doesn't need to be shared.
Yes.
So I think Henderson will be able to exploit. I think Harding's D is very good. I think Henderson's will be able to exploit the back part of their D. That's really what the thought process was. So Chuck.
I think that Southeastern showed that you can slow down that Henderson offense, and Harding is a team that just has such an ability to shorten games and put pressure and make you maximize every possession. So I'm going to go with Harding.
Okay. Chris.
I'm going to go with Harding as well.
Okay. And Matt, you will be the last of the week.
Yeah, I think all the pressure here is probably on Henderson. And so I like Harding in this football game. I think their one blemish is, a game that they probably win more times than not. And so I like Harding in this football game.
All right. Very good, man. So it was one of the picks this week, Ferris State at Grand Valley. This is as excited as I have been for this game between these two in a very long time. The past few years, I thought Grand Valley had a chance, and they certainly did. But this is a year when I truly believe that Grand Valley can win this game, and it would not be considered an upset to do so. And did anybody hear about the movement or the move to get Gameday into Allendale?
Is this the part where you tell us that we're all going to Allendale for a game, like a game day type show?
That would have been awesome. However, we live in the world of reality, man, and that is not.
That's going to be crazy. 7:00 kickoff at Lubbers. The Grand Valley sold out the game this past weekend against Northwood. They sold out the stadium. It was overflowing. It was packed. So I can't wait to see what it's going to be like this Saturday night with Ferris coming to town.
I can't think. I mean, I doubt there's any fool from ESPN watching this or will watch it. But if you are, it would be the best choice, one of the best choices you can make. I would say Allendale, Canyon, Texas, and Pittsburg, Kansas would be the 3 best choices you could make in terms of visiting a Division II school and having game day there. The Grand Valley would be a great representative of Division II, and I'd be proud to have them represent the rest of us. And I don't know what decision Game Day make, and they probably already made their decision. They've never been to a D2 school. They have been to FCS at Fargo a bunch of times,
and Brookings, South Dakota.
Oh, they've been to Brookings
and James Madison.
Okay,
and they've done Hampton as well.
Very good. Okay, and they've done one Division III school. So if they're ever going to do a Division II, They chose Georgia and Kentucky. That is unfortunate. So I guess we just wasted a bunch of time talking about it. Nonetheless, congratulations. I think that is, our comments are relevant and accurate about how proud we would have been for Grand Valley to have represented us, the rest of the country. So I'm sorry it didn't get done. And I told people this was considering going if they had it there, not because I don't pay attention to D1 games. I don't care about game day, but being part of that atmosphere would have been a really fun occasion. So nonetheless, it is what it is. And we will move on. And we will move on to trivia, and that'll be the end of our show before we'll do questions and then trivia. We'll do it quickly this week, man, since Devin's not here. And this is all about the Harlon Hill Trophy this week. Since we discussed potential Harlon Hill candidates, we will have questions based around Harlon Hill questions. None of them, I believe, involve kicking or punting, though, Matt.
I was already with, what kicker received the most votes in the Harlon Hill balloting.
Awesome.
I'm on to you.
Okay. All right. So, all right. This 1998 Harlon Hill Trophy winner was featured on the first D2Football.com logo. Was it Jared Anderson of Truman State, Irv Sigler from Bloomsburg, Brian Shea from Emporia State, or Dusty Bonner from Valdosta State? Anderson, Sigler, Shea, or Bonner? All right. What is our answer, man? B, D, C. So we got two D's, a B, and a C. And the answer is C. Brian Shea, Emporia State. Who got that right? There was one C, right? Chuck got it right. I think that's before Witt's time.
Chuck being old.
There was no D2 before Witt showed up.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, everybody believes the world.
Fair point. Yes.
Everybody believes the world started spinning the day they were born. So that's how it works. All right.
Next question. Move on.
All right. So, which of these three programs does not have three Harlon Hill winners to its credit? Does not have three Harlon Hill trophies? Ferris State, Pittsburg State, A&M Kingsville, or Valdosta State? Again, this is a negative. Does not have three trophies.
He's always trying to get those questions, or I got to read it closely.
All right. So B.
Chris, write yours down before you see my answers.
All right. You guys nailed it. Yeah.
Chris.
Ronald Moore and Ronnie West were the two winners from Pittsburg State. Jason Vanderline had two for Ferris. And Johnny Bailey had three by himself for Kingsville. And Dusty Bonner won two for Valdosta. And
J.
also
Campbell was the one you missed.
J. Rue. There you go.
Yeah.
J. Rue at Ferris. And then Chris Hatcher was the other one for Valdosta. Awesome. All right. We got question 3. Who is the only defensive player to win the Harlon Hill Trophy? Ronald McKinnon, North Alabama. Phil Hansen, North Dakota State. Darrell Green, Texas A&M Kingsville. Or Jesse Tuggle from Valdosta State? McKinnon, Hansen, Green, or Tuggle? All right. And the answer is Ronald McKinnon, North Alabama, 1995. One of the greatest defenses in D2 history. They were pretty incredible. All right, number 4. All right, how many times has a national championship, has a player on the national championship team and the Harlon Hill Trophy been won in the same year? So you had to win the national championship and one of your guys won the Harlon Hill Trophy. Never, once, 6 times, or 8 times. So A, never, B, once, 6 is C, and D is 8. All right. See what we got here. I can't remember the answer. A, C, B, C. Okay, so we don't have any D. A, C, B, C. And the answer is 6 times. So it's C. 1986, 1990, 1991, 1995.
Perez, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yep. 86 was Jeff Bentram, North Dakota State. 90 was another quarterback from North Dakota State. His name's escaping me now. 91 was Pitt State. 1995 was Ronald McKinnon, who we just talked about. 2002 was Kurt Ains from Grand Valley, and then Luis Perez. All right. Which Harlon Hill Trophy winning running back had the most rushing yards in his NFL career?
oh,
It's the NFL career. Joik Bell from Wayne State, Danny Woodhead from Chadron State, Ronald Moore from Pittsburg State, or Johnny Bailey from Texas A&M Kingsville.
That's a good one.
All right. All right. Who we got?
it might be A.
It not might be. It absolutely is. If I remember right, when I did it, he had just a few yards more than one of the others, but he was the one. Joik Bell was the one that had the most of anybody. So very good. All right, let's go through questions and comments real quick, man. This is our longest show by far, and it's time to let everybody get on with their Sunday night and let you guys get ready for work on Monday morning. I'm trying to see if we have any questions. If you have a question or want to ask a question, hurry up and get it in.
Hey, Brandon, I don't have comments on my side today. Does everybody else have comments?
I don't either.
All right,
No, I
interesting. You mean you can't see them?
No, it just says private chat, nothing else.
Oh, did you click on comments at the top? There's no ability to click comments on the top.
Yeah,
Is that what you're
it's
saying?
not there this week.
I have no
part,
clue.
yeah.
I have no clue why. Okay.
Okay.
I apologize. I bet you I know why, and it's my fault. I'm sorry, guys.
I assumed as much.
I don't want to hear about people talking about me anyway, so I'm okay without them.
It's always a good bet just to blame it on me, Chuck. Okay. I'm sorry. It would have been easier if you would have. All right, here's one. So Shannon Sons, what about Mike Hohensee from Northwest Missouri as a candidate if he stays healthy and racks up good numbers? You guys take that.
Good numbers aren't enough. They have to be out of this world. We think a lot of Hohensee as a player. He's done a phenomenal job, but the stone cold reality is that good numbers are not good enough.
Right.
And he started, he didn't start the season, so he's
Right.
already behind the curve there.
Yeah. Everything you just said. Yep.
Yep. So that's what I thought too. I mean, in my opinion, quarterback is the one position at Northwest that could theoretically win it because of the nature of offense today. But they're going to spread the ball around so much, and quite frankly, that's a product of sometimes blowing out teams as you get yanked after three quarters and you only threw for 220, but your team was up 42-5 or 42-7 and you're out. So, all right. And then just wanted that's the one last comment we have, and we'd like to say thank you very much. We enjoy doing this every Sunday. We enjoy covering you guys playing ball, putting in the effort. And I think it's a small price to pay what we do to give some credit and some coverage to these young men, the coaches, and everybody who plays and is involved in Division II football. Hold on. Okay. One more question, guys. Sorry. All right, Calvin. If Chowan wins out, should they qualify for a playoff berth? You guys kind of addressed this earlier.
Kind of. I mean, I think some of it will depend on the way the Gulf South plays out. Unfortunately, the rest of Chowan's schedule is pretty soft, and they need, Mars Hill's 4-2 that they beat first game of the season. They need Mars Hill to continue to win. Maybe Tusculum can pick up some wins too. Certainly, 6 or 7. But you've got the SIAC vying for a berth this year, and you've got some really solid Gulf South teams, and you've got 2 teams that are undefeated in the SAC as well. So it's going to be tough, even at 9-1. But maybe they try to play a 11th game during the championship week for CIAA, and that can get them over.
All right, guys. Well, think that is going to do it. Appreciate you guys being here, first of all. Appreciate everybody out there watching. And yes, that is exactly right. Address that too, Chris.
I want to say get well to our friend Jerry.
Yes.
If you don't follow Jerry Quickle on Twitter, he's just a really fun follow. This guy has like the best collection of memorabilia you'll ever find. He has like something like 350 full size college football helmets, and he just shares his collection all the time. And it's just one of those things that you need to have in your Twitter feed to break up the bad news and the arguing and all that stuff. It's just really cool. Jerry had a little bit of a health scare this past week, and he's doing well. We're real happy to hear that. So we're pulling for you, buddy, and just want to let you know we're thinking of you.
All right, guys. Well, that will do it for this week. Be sure to visit the website. Follow us on our social media accounts. You can find those on in the description of these videos. And of course, if you have the ability and the desire to, you can support us by going to the website, d2football.com/support. But for Chuck Bittner, Chris Ferguson, Justin Polizzi, and Matt Witwicky, I'm Brandon Meisner. Thanks for watching.